Hello and welcome. I am currently watching a pro game with some pretty significant pros on here. We have like GH, we have Quinn. Um, I guess Gilger is also an official account. I'm not sure who he is, but basically, I have recognized that the biggest weaknesses of my gameplay as a support right now is kind of like my positioning during the mid game and where to position myself, like where to position my hero avatar to apply the most efficient pressure for the game, like post laning stage, like during the mid game. So I'm going to be focusing, I think, mostly on like Lion and Bane, because like I'm not rooting for either team here. But just looking at them and kind of see what their rotations are and where they choose to play on the map after the laning stage kind of dissolves here. I'm not going to really be focusing on Wisp too much because I think a lot of the same principles can be applied to Wisp, but I'm not a Wisp player by any means. And I think it kind of plays a little different. So this camp has been blocked by Bane. That's the first thing I see here. So that leaves Lion with the complete inability to pull this camp. There's a very high level ward here. This is where I placed my ward, as a matter of fact, because it's very, very tough to deward this. And honestly, Lion does have 2 sentries. I'm surprised he hasn't been hunting that sentry to get this pull off, because the lane is playing very far forward. So I am very, very surprised that this Lion is choosing to not get this ward down to enable this pull for himself, because Morphling is free farming. I feel like this Primal and this Lion could be doing a lot more damage than they are if he just gets this ward down. So he's also not taking very good trades against this Bane. I think Bane's playing very well to give the man some credit. But yeah, I mean, Morphling is also doing a great job holding the lane here, just giving himself as free of a game as possible. Morphling is probably the weakest level 1 and 2 in the entire game of any hero. So the fact that he's able to literally keep the wave in his power pocket is huge. And like even right now, like I don't know, it's weird for me to be critical about these guys who are probably like 5,000 MMR higher than me, but I have no idea. I mean, this man saw the Bane right here. Why wouldn't you take this opportunity to throw down a sentry and get this D ward? He had 2 before he slammed this sentry down. He had 2 sentries, so I don't know why. Even if you don't want to block your own camp, you could slam one down here, slam one down over here, and guarantee full coverage of this camp. I'm genuinely perplexed by what this Lion is doing. Great kill there. And even now, Bane is dead. Bane is dead. He has a sentry, and he opts to block this pole camp. He also blocked the dire pole camp rather than unblock his own camp. Now, with the lane existing here for so long, I think they could always get kills on this Bane potentially. But while that Bane was dead, and it's still in the power pocket, this Morphling is doing such a great job of this Bane in the power pocket. When the Bane was dead, why did he not come over here and cut the wave? And can I draw on the map? No, I can't draw on the map. So why didn't the Lion cut the wave? So like, Bane was dead, the wave is still right here. Why didn't the Lion come over here at 15, hit the wave, and drag it over to reset the wave? Like I said, this is very, very strange for me, because this Sultan guy is, I mean, admittedly, he's 5,000 MMR more than me, but I just, using my own heuristics from when I was at the peak of my gameplay, when I was 6,200 MMR, and even when I was 62 MMR, this Sultan guy is still probably 3 to 4K more than that. I have heuristics that can be applied to any laning stage, and that being like, very good. That's good. That should be another kill. Lion will die, but Bane should die too. But like some heuristics are like, the goal is to enable your core to get as much gold and XP as possible. Like that's the goal, right? And Morphling is doing a phenomenal job holding it here and giving himself the freest farm, the freest game of his life. And I just don't understand how, I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't understand what Lion is doing to enable his Primal Beast to get as much golden XP as possible. Did he block his own camp? He did not block the camp. He will get the D ward finally. And why is he D-warding at 6 minutes? Like, even if you do get this D ward, there's like a minute left on this ward. There's a minute left on the ward. Why would you wait to throw down that sentry until then? And I mean, never mind the fact that he threw down the sentry and then walked away and let the Bane get the sentry again. If that was the goal, like if he planted the sentry there, that tells me that was the goal for the Lion. The goal was to unblock the camp. He had so many opportunities to unblock the camp. Why did he wait until 6 minutes? Why did he wait until the laning stage was over to unblock this camp? Actually, let's pull up the last hit denies here. Obviously, we haven't had any metrics of how this lane is going, but I bet you this Morphling might be at the top. Let's see. Oh, wow. Okay, so it's a lot more even than I suspected. Okay, so this is interesting, and this probably gives a little more insight on why perhaps Lion was playing the way he was doing. I think perhaps Lion was well aware that if he could give Primal Beast a 1v1 matchup against Morphling, that he had the base damage to basically out-deny and out-last hit the Morphling. So perhaps the Lion's goal was to simply keep the Bane away. If that's the goal, you know, hypothetically, I don't know, you know, I'm not in like a Discord with him, but if that was the goal, admittedly that is a lot. He did accomplish that, right? However, I'm still going to argue he could have done that better. Like, yeah, sure, you know, the Morphling is 30, the Primal Beast is 32. But, like, if he had this pull camp available, and, like, when Bane was dicking around over here, and he had this camp available to pull, like, even though, yes, the Primal Beast is on top, and I think one could argue, you know, this is probably a win for the Morphling to come out even. You know, one could argue that, but I'm not going to go there, even though I think that is a valid argument. I would say that this lane probably could have been like 45 for Primal Beast, like 25 for Morphling, or more of a disparity than that, if this Lion had focused on, you know, keeping this hard camp de-warded and, you know, enabling himself to pull that. So anyway, this is also really interesting. So I would say at this point, the landing stage is starting to break down, especially with the rotation of this Leshrac coming over. And the Leshrac's moving up here, so it makes sense that the Lion's up here. The Ember was faster to make this rotation. However, they are going to get a return kill here. So now, when I'm watching pro games like this, okay, this is really awesome. So this is really, really cool. So the Io saw 4 heroes top, so Io commits a TP to head top to play around this Leshrac. I think Io probably identifies that this Leshrac is most powerful hero in the game right now, especially for his team. And by nature of, you know, this Leshrac having a good lane and really coming into his own, like this Io's really going to start to play with him now. So where's this Lion now? So Lion's still playing top. So they're all playing top, and this is awesome. They're playing top and leaving a whole bunch of space for Bristleback bottom. And I imagine since it's 4 top, they're all here, they're going to continue to play top, and they're probably going to play top until they get this tower. And just don't, you know, kind of leveraging my heuristics of the game, I'm going to make the guess that as soon as they get this tower, the 4 of these heroes, the Primal Beast, Lion, Io, and Leshrac, after they get this tower, are probably going to rotate mid. Actually, they already have the mid tower. So my guess is after they get this tower, this 4 hero squadron here is going to rotate bottom. Oh, they had the bottom tower too. So this is very, very interesting. What do? So they can't really do Roshan until the Bristleback gets an Aghanim Scepter. So they now have all the tier 1s, which is really, really surprising. I wasn't paying attention to that. I imagine what they're going to do now is probably just penetrate deep in here, get a ward up in here, and after they get a ward up in here and know for a fact there's no hero in, you know, in the jungle, perhaps they then rotate over here to try and get a ward up in here. Because if you could keep all enemy heroes out of the jungle and the triangle, all of a sudden this lead that you have is only going to exacerbate, because all of a sudden you have the entire map to farm and the enemies have like no space to farm at all. So let's see what's going on here. Where's this Leshrac? Leshrac's mid behind the tier 1, who's really, really interesting. What's this Leshrac doing? Oh, this is a really, really, really cool play by the Dark Willow. So the Dark Willow identifying this game is going very, very poorly. So what can I do? Oh, really, really, really good untarget ability to really drag them in here. And this is awesome because, like I was saying, so this is so awesome by the Dark Willow. Because, like I was saying, the Dire want to exist here in the jungle. Or, excuse me, not the Dire. The Radiant want to exist here in the jungle. The Radiant want to exist here in the triangle. They want to play on the opponent's side of the map to strip away map from the enemy so they can have more farm, the enemy has less farm. This Dark Willow, you can, I think a noob in Dota would say, what a feat. He's really absolutely feeding. No! This Dark Willow drew the Wisp and the Leshrac to their tier 4s. That gave so much space for the Dire cores to farm. And I think, yeah, it was a suicide, but that was a tactful suicide that was calculated. I genuinely think that was an amazing play. One moment here. So yeah, that was a really, really, really awesome play by the Dark Willow there. And that gave him a lot of space. So now we have some team fights happening. And like I said, now we now see the Dire occupying the enemy jungle. Looks like they're going to take a bad fight here. And here's the other thing. Here's the other thing is that Dota is a game that requires so... Oh, I need to turn off that and go to free view. So here's the thing that's also interesting is that Dota is a game that requires so much social synergy, right? Like I said, the Radiant wants to play in the Dire jungle. They want to play in the Dire triangle. Take away that farm. So not only did the Dark Willow moving bottom draw the Leshrac and the Wisp to literally their own tier 4s, the polar opposite of where they want to be on the map. The Leshrac and Wisp want to be here. The Leshrac and Wisp want to be here. Probably mostly here because this is where their vision is and what they want to play around. That Dark Willow moving it, dragging them all the way down to tier 4s, let alone dragged the Leshrac Isle all the way over there. It also split the team up. I think that splitting of the team that Dark Willow facilitated there enabled them to take this good fight in their jungle. And now all of a sudden, the Radiant had 4K on the Dire at minute 9, minute 10, and all of a sudden it's still like 4 or 5K. This probably could have been 8K, 7K, 8K if the Dark Willow continued just to maintain the status quo and didn't do that. I would argue that this net worth lead for the Radiant would be much more exacerbated. So really, really, really awesome play by this Dark Willow. Who is this? It's the other official, like, official pro on his main account. That's really, really cool to see. And here we see the Radiant in the Dire triangle now. So this, super high level play, what I anticipated here. And they're also taking the stacks, which is huge for the Dire. The Dire do smoke here to contest this, but I don't know if they could kill this Bristleback. Does Bristleback have Axe? He almost had bags. He's a couple items away. Are the Dire going to get any kills here? It's going to be tough. A really good range drop by the Leshrac. And this is a good fight. So this is really, really awesome. That's an awesome smoke. Even though they did lose the majority of their Ancient stack, I would argue this is still a really good fight for them because... And I guess to finish the point regarding the net worth lead that I was speaking of just a second ago, 4K net worth at 9 minutes is huge, okay? And I'm going to really, like, exaggerate this analogy here, but 4K at 9 minutes is huge. A 4K lead at minute 48 is nothing. And the reason why I really exaggerate that is kind of make my point here, right? If you get a 4K net worth lead, or, in the case of the Dire here, a 4K net worth deficit in 9 minutes, and you keep that at a 4K net worth deficit all the way until 15 minutes, like it is now, or to 20 minutes, all of a sudden, the lead that the opponent has, even though it's numerically, quote-unquote, the same lead, I would argue that lead is shrinking because as the game goes on, as gold gets inflated, as more gold enters the game, the gold difference, the gold disparity needs to, increase proportionately. So I would say that the Radiant are in the process of a comeback here. So the Radiant are doing a very, very good job playing on the opponent's side of the map here. Take away their farm, and it's really forcing the Dire to fight. And this is really, really important because the Dire don't want to fight because they do have the experience and net worth deficit. So as a general heuristic, the Dire is trying to spread out the Radiant team and only take fights that are advantageous for them, where they have like the hero advantage, and they're trying to avoid fights and only take fights where they have like the hero advantage, right? And the Radiant are obviously trying to fight whenever possible, and the Radiant are really trying to consolidate themselves and really push their advantage, take objectives, because the more the Dire can stall the game, the better it is for the Dire. And thankfully, they have a really good push hero in the form of Leshrac, where they can really punish the Dire and force the Dire to fight by there being a really strong objective taker on the team. But that's another big heuristic here that I want to highlight. And that heuristic being, if you are losing, you want to spread out the enemy, avoid fights, and if you are winning, you want to consolidate yourselves for the most part and take objectives and force the opponent to fight. And here we see the Dire taking another good fight, and I highlight this again. The Radiant had a 4,000 net worth lead at minute 9. It's now minute 17, and it's still a 4K net worth lead. And as much as I think the Radiant are doing things right, the Dire are doing what they have to do to turn this game around. And now we see the net worth lead shrink down to a 3K net worth lead. Yeah, this is really awesome. Really awesome to watch. Now, I don't want to extend this too long because my main goal for watching this game was I just wanted to really observe the positioning of the supports in the game and I wanted to draw links between kind of the goals that the supports had and their movements and positioning around the map. And it's really interesting because I think by nature of, and like I said earlier, the Roshan timing for the Radiant was Bristleback Ags Vanguard, and the moment he gets Ags Vanguard, all of a sudden they're roaching. Really cool to see, but and I think that's a big juxtaposition between low level play and high level play, is that the mid game, like, it's like laning stage right into like brawl, and when you get into like Guardian games, like that entire brawling phase is non-existent. Like it's hilarious. But when you get into like top 100 games like this, the laning stage dissolved. All of a sudden there were 4 heroes top, and the Radiant came out of the laning stage with a net worth lead, and all of a sudden they were pumping the gas. They were go. Yeah. Very cool to see, and all of a sudden we see the Dire pushing this tier 2 bottom. And again, they're probably going to try and avoid fighting here, so because they don't really want to fight into an Aegis, but yeah. So I guess to kind of drive my point home, I was really flaming the Lion for most of that, right? And I acknowledge that the Lion's goal could have been... Actually, let me kind of move away, from all the actions so I can really just talk about this, not get distracted. The Lion's goal could have been to give the Primal Beast a 1v1 against the Morphling. The Lion probably recognized that the base damage of Primal Beast was so high, he could easily out-trade the Morphling if he gave him a one-on-one. I can respect that, I understand that. However, there's so much wasted movement around the Lion. In opportunities where Bane was dead or Bane was behind the tower for whatever reason, Lion could have been in the wave helping the Primal Beast deny, or he could have been de-warding that hard camp and enabling a pull. Let's pretend, the Dire tower is still here. The wave was in the Dire power pocket the entire time. A pull would have been critical, and the Lion never took advantage of any opportunity to get this de-ward off. And if he was doing other things super efficiently, super well, like if he was actively choosing to not deward this, to sit in the wave with Primal Beast and help the Primal Beast deny, that would have made sense. But the Morphling would be here, obviously the tower would still be up, the Bane would be here in vision, and the line would be like sitting in here in the trees with a sentry in his hand, not even attempting to deward this. I do not understand why. So I guess if, going back to what I was saying, if the Lion's goal was to give the Primal Beast a 1v1, I guess, yes, he did do that. Without a doubt, I recognize his Lion's 4k MMR higher than me, 5k MMR higher than me right now. I would argue he didn't do that as efficiently as possible, and I say that with confidence. And I think one more thing that I want to highlight is that Wisp is a support. Wisp is a hero. I'm getting, whoops, yeah, I'm getting distracted again. So, Wisp is a support, right? And Wisp is a support that really wants to play around to other heroes because he literally isn't a hero unless there's other heroes around him. And, like, that's a huge, like, pillar and archetype of Wisp as a hero in general. However, I would argue that is most supports. Most supports, you don't want to run around and play solo. You want to enable your cores to do what they want to do. And I think there's another heuristic. You have to, I think, during a game, when you're looking at the cores on your team, you have to ask yourself, what are my cores wanting to do? How aggressively are they playing? What do they need? I think one really awesome thing is that the Lion moved top. I'm not sure if the Lion moving top was the right play or the wrong play in a vacuum, but the Lion went back top at like 8:30 when the laning stage was dissolving, when Leshrac was ready to make his first rotation. By nature of Lion moving top, Leshrac also moved top. Because you'd much rather play away from your core that wants to farm, away from a Wisp that isn't going to help with any gank or anything, and you want to play around the playmakers on the map, which is going to be the Primal Beast Lion. Leshrac was able to make that rotation because the Primal Beast had a decent lane, a good enough lane against the Morphling to where he had his levels, he had a decent amount of farm, and out of itself. So there's no reason for the Leshrac to not go top and play around the Primal Beast. So perhaps that in out of itself also makes sense for the Lion to play around the Primal Beast. Now, by nature of Leshrac making the decision to go top, play around Primal Beast, that also made the decision for Wisp super obvious to go and play top with the four of them. And all of a sudden, the four of them went top, and they started making huge base, huge moves around the map. They started taking over the jungle, stripping farm away from the Dire, and during that phase, right at 8:30, when that Leshrac made that rotation, the Dire took over the entire map. And I think that those are the key features of this game that I want to highlight for the Radiant. But for the Dire, that play by the Willow to drag a wave and run into the base took the Radiant team from where they were wanting to play on the map. He ran across the map and dragged the most farmed core in the game to the literal last spot on the map where he wants to be. And I also split the Radiant heroes who have more experience and more gold apart, which enabled the other 4 heroes of the Dire to consolidate and take a good fight against Radiant. And that fight, that initial skirmish that Dire, I think, killed a couple of Radiant heroes there, was enabled by that play by the Dark Willow. Really cool to see. This is kind of tapping into my thoughts of this game. I hope that this was informative. I hope that this helped. I think becoming a high-level support and moving beyond just the true just like mechanics of the game is learning these soft skills and be able to read a game, identify what each core on your team wants to do. Can you enable that core to do what they want to do? And also look at an even more big picture level as far as like, what does my team kind of want to do? Are we up? Are we down? Are we wanting to put, play on their side of the map? Are we wanting, to consolidate and press our advantage? Are we want to split the enemy up and take only advantageous fights, after we split them up? There's a lot more to talk about than that, but I think that this could be a good spot to kind of get you thinking about what you need to do, where you need to place yourself in a support role.